I think the key element of high-impact practices, the reason high-impact practices are high-impact is because they are relationship-rich. When you think about an undergraduate research experience, for instance, its essence is this transformative relationship between a faculty member and a student, where the student is going to be on a journey from being a student to being a junior colleague of this faculty member, and working on original research, pursuing an original question, advancing work to the point where they're going to present at a national professional meeting or co-write a scholarly article with a faculty member. That relationship is going to be important to that student for the rest of his or her life. And I can make the same case for the kinds of relationships that students and faculty have when they travel internationally together or on the road, side by side, 24/7, doing research in the field. I can make the same kind of case for internships, that one of the most significant mentors that many students have are their internship mentors on Wall Street, in an elementary school, in all kinds of contexts. And these are critical individuals in our students' lives in helping them connect theories that they're learning about here on campus with real-world practical realities. Tremendously influential teachers and mentors. So it comes back to the relationships that students form while participating in high-impact practices. That is what this is all about in my mind.
Well, I think one of the most important things that makes any educational experience high impact is what David Perkins calls proactive knowledge. The idea that students can use what they learned in one context in a very different context. And the key with proactive knowledge is that it's not a highly cued environment. It's not an environment where they know, this is where I use what I learned in history or physics. What happens with proactive knowledge is students can apply their knowledge in very different settings without the kinds of hints we give them in the curriculum or on campuses. And that is key to high-impact learning, the ability to transfer what you've learned from one setting to another.
Any high-impact practice has to be really inserted in the curriculum in the classroom. And this is especially the case for commuting students, because we know that students who live off campus are very likely to drive to the institution, go to class, and then get in the car and drive home. So unless it happens in the classroom, it's somewhat unlikely to happen. Now, of course, the situation is very different at a residential campus where you have many more opportunities to interject high-impact practices, such as service learning, creation of a learning community that perhaps involves residents' life, undergraduate research, which by its very nature is very curriculum-centered. But again, I think thinking about all students, that what has to happen is that high-impact practices have to become part of what we expect students to do in the classroom.
I think we have to be very careful with our talk and promotion of high-impact practices to make sure that we are not creating a two-tiered educational system where some group of students are having this high-octane experience and others are having something quite less enriched. So I'm committed to the idea that institutions have to be proactive in securing resources to ensure that all students have access to high-impact experiences like internships, especially international education experiences, undergraduate research experiences. We can't forget that these experiences oftentimes take extra resources for students to participate in, international travel, for instance, or taking a really wonderful internship in the summer that might not be paid and therefore deferring an opportunity to make money during the summer. So I think this is of top concern to me in thinking about how to how to make high impact practices really move to the center. Every student needs to be involved in them.
Interestingly, I was last year at the University of North Carolina for a particular event that was focused on high-impact practices. And the intent of UNC was to make sure that every student engaged in at least one high-impact practice every year, every undergraduate year. And of course, that's a major undertaking to keep up with what are students doing and how are they doing it. It's a great strategy. And of course, a lot of that became part of the classroom experience of UNC students.
The other thing I think we need to do is to broaden our definition of what high-impact practices are. And we have lists of 5, we have lists of 8, we have lists of 10, but there are more high-impact practices than I think we officially recognize. I think of campus work, working on campus, as a high-impact practice, that students have an opportunity to work with a mentor, to learn to function in a professional setting, for instance. That's an example. Another would be intercollegiate athletics. That's a tremendous exposure to leadership and perseverance. Another thing I want us to think about is the ways that we can broaden our view of what high impact practices mean.